Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply. In this video is to bring you a closer look at the IDH number 21250. They have an I in the part number, even though the I doesn't exist here. That's because it's from catalog section I of their catalog. 10B, this is a storm door latch, a storm door catch. This is a classic design that the company that had made these for decades literally stopped making these. That was Ives. Ives probably made them in the 1950s, 1960s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s. They were just discontinued not very long ago, maybe 2016 would be my guess, which is all fine and dandy. I think Ives, they certainly made it in polished brass. They may have made it in satin chrome. I don't recall. I believe it was made in satin chrome. It's really not the end of the world, and I mean that because IDH does a really nice job with the product themselves. Meaning the fit and finish is very good. And they offer it in lots of different finishes. It's going to be a brass base material, so I'm very carefully unthreading that to not put any pressure on it itself. Nice and clean threads there. So this unit is going to be comprised of a whole mess of different pieces, and let's take a look at it. So I've got it all disassembled here. Obviously, they're going to have this funny spindle with this concave feature to it. This is a knob on the exterior with a lever on the interior. It's typical. This is also a privacy function. You can actually lock the handle by the privacy feature on the inside rows. This is shown in the oil rubbed bronze finish, which is 10B. This is, I'm quite sure this is a powder coat finish. It feels like it's powder coated. So they're calling it 10B, which means oil rub bronze. What 10B does not do is declare the base material. It could be steel, it could be zinc, it could be plastic. Who knows what it could be. They're not saying it's 613, which would mean bronze with an oil rubbed finish. This is, I would very much believe that this is made of brass. You can tell that it's not magnetic. Well, zinc isn't magnetic either, nor is stainless. Stainless will have a small amount of residual magnetism when it's machined that you can actually detect. I truly believe this is brass, and in fact, as I'm looking, it says solid brass construction. But I do believe that they're powder coated because of the texture on the material. It just feels like it's powder coated. The point is, this is what they call oil rubbed bronze. Okay? Some people will say that is black. And I will say you're not wrong. That case is black. Now you can tell, maybe you can't, but I'm going to argue that that is not the same shade as my black case. In fact, it's not. It's ever so slightly warmer and more brown. The lights are washing it out above my head to the point where, yeah, that's oil rub bronze. Or at least it's intended to emulate oil rub bronze. Oil rub bronze is a finish that's really defined only by the people making the hardware and a whole other mess of requirements and circumstances and situations. What I'm driving at is there is no standard oil rub bronze finish. Oil rub from IDH is not going to match the hinges that you have specifically. Oil rub bronze is specifically by definition a living finish. And even though this is probably powder coated, it would be consistent, I should say. If you ordered 10 of these, they would all look the same. But not when you match it to another manufacturer, because the other manufacturer might be doing some other process. Be mindful, this video is representative of the color that you're going to get when you order this. Oil rub being a difficult finish. To have a standard understanding, a standardized agreement as to what to expect. Now, there's a link below this video to the product page, and that will allow you to pull up the I section from their catalog. It's a 3-page section and shows some exterior door hardware. They do a nice job on page 3 where they'll depart from the knob and they'll do a lever on both sides, which is really nice because, you know, people order the knob by lever because that's all that was available. Well, IDH does a nice job with lever by lever. They also have the items that you can see on the bottom of page 1. Storm door latch hardware, but escutcheon type, which is nice. Allows you to kind of perhaps upgrade the standard knob by lever trim that's been available for decades. Exterior door hardware is there, numerals, house numbers, mail slots, doorbells, some hinges that you'll see on cabinet hardware, even flagpole holders. I actually have one of those from IDH, nice solid brass construction. Now, there is a link below this video to the installation instructions, and that's really the heart of the matter here, which are not included with this packaging, which is atypical. And in fact, I'm going to print this out for the client because this order is going to a client, so there at least will be installation instructions in the box. Yeah, neither of them are included. Atypical, but they're linked to down below so that you can get to them. It's very likely that you are simply replacing existing, and there would be no problem replacing the ives that you might have with this, and you might be replacing it because you simply no longer want, you know, polished brass that is likely had the lacquer broken off and the plating is coming off and it's fatiguing, and oil rub bronze, you know, it's kind of been a very popular finish for a while. So the installation instructions. If you're doing a new installation, which you certainly could be, this is going to be very simple to install, to prep for. I'm going to take a couple of reality measurements here, reality check measurements. This is going to work on doors between 7/8 and 1 5/8 thick. This is going to have a back set of 1 3/4, which is very unusual. And they want a 5/8 hole in the edge. That appears to be okay for the face of the spindle to go through it. And then they want a 5/8 hole in the edge of the door. Okay, I'm reading all of this so that we can go over the step-by-steps to make sure there's no trouble with any of these dimensions. So the bottom line is 7/8 to 1 5/8 thickness. If you've got a door that's thicker than that, you probably don't have a storm door. You probably have an entry door. So be mindful that that's the range. That's going to be related to the length of the spindle, really is all. And that would be plenty large enough to get through any storm door. So they want a 5/8 diameter spindle hole through the face of the door. That's going to be for the spindle. You're going to drill that at 1 3/4 from the edge of the door. The edge of the door is the center of the thickness of its door to its center line of the hole. If your door is square edge, hook your tape measure on the edge, go over 1 3/4, mark a hole. Do the same on the other side after you've determined the vertical height. So the height, horizontal line. Edge of the door, 1 3/4, vertical line. You've got your point, center punch, mark both faces of the door. If it's a beveled edge door, you kind of have to think about that, which it won't be most likely, because the backset is determined from the center of the thickness of the door. So if you're measuring from what would be the pull side, the high side of the door, your tape measure is going to need to be compensated. You're going to be, you're going to be a little bit too shy of that hole. And if you're measuring from the push side on a beveled edge door, you'll be a little too far over, so you've got to compensate. You're going to have a square edge door is the bottom line, and it won't really matter anyway, because the bevel would be minor, if anything. Center punch both sides, drill halfway through on both sides, drill straight, and you're in good shape. That's what I would do. Then, backing up, don't drill anything just yet. That dimension down, top of the door to the center line. Mark the face of the door, obviously with a pencil. Then mark the edge of the door with that same dimension. Okay, so turn your ruler over, your straight edge over and mark the edge of the door. That's going to be for your 5/8 latch hole. Right in the center of the thickness, take your door thickness, divide it in half. That's where you're going to place the latch hole. Ensure this hole is in the center of the door edge aligned with the spindle hole. Insert the latch assembly. The very first hardware that you install will be the latch assembly. You can install this either hand, doesn't really matter. You can see that profile, that feature to the internal componentry of the latch bolt. That's going to sit inside of that concave feature of your spindle. Okay. You'll depress that down. You probably won't need to do anything but pressure fit it down. If you had to tap it, put a wooden block on there and take a mallet and just carefully tap it down. I do want to take a dimension on the outside dimension of the latch face itself. 0.777. 777. Outside dimension of the latch face. 5/8 hole, you've got just heavy end 3/4 inch. So you want to be sure that you're drilling it as straight as possible through the edge of the door. A fly bit with a fly bit, a spade bit, some people have called it. They make them with outside wing cutters so that you can score the edge of the door, nice and slow. If you want to get real fancy, start that hole off with a Forstner bit. That will give you an incredibly clean hole, and then you can finish it off with something a little more rough. Insert the latch assembly. Insert the spindle by pushing the latch tongue in completely. What they mean is push that in so you can draw that back, as you can see that it's drawing back. With the open side of the spindle facing away from the door edge. So the concave part, face that towards the hinges. After you get this, you're going to want to orient the latch in the proper direction before you insert it into the hole. So that, if you're doing a left-hand reverse, or if you're doing a right-hand reverse, or however it's swinging, get that oriented first. That's how I'm going to put that in there, in that sort of orientation. To press, kind of line it up a little bit. You're going to sneak your spindle in there to get that pushed back. You'll be able to force it through. Now as I hold all of that, that's how it's going to rotate. Can't do it from the knob because I didn't tighten the set screw. You leave that backed off for now, and in fact you can just remove it, would be what I would do. And then center that in the installation. Okay? Well, forgive me, you need to remove it, is the bottom line, because your rosettes have to go on next. Mount rosettes or push plus lever and knob. So these instructions will work for the escutcheon trim as well. Center that, nice. Your outside rosette, that'll go down. Your interior rosette, that is going to need to that can go down either way you want. You can have it towards the door edge, or you can have it away from the door edge. I'd probably put it away from the door edge, so you're not trying to fit your fingers in that small little space. Then you're just going to pull that. When you get that rosette on the inside, you're just going to pull that out, and now it won't even rotate with that extended. Push it in, and now it can rotate. Okay. Then you're going to bring your interior lever on. You're just going to thread both of those on to the point where you're in good shape. But before you do that, you're talking about the mounting of the rosettes. If you scroll down, you'll see they want a couple of holes pre-drilled, 1/8 of an inch, and that will be for the screws that are included. You'll need a total of 6 screws. They've given us 6 screws indeed. 2 and 2 make 4. Pre-drill those holes. Get your rosettes down. Make sure at that point that the spindle rotates correctly. Then bring your trim. Just rotate it on. Doesn't need to be tight. If it's too tight, it won't work right. Back it off a little bit. 1/4 turn. Tighten your set screw. I would even put some thread lock on that. You can commercially available thread lock. We sell it as well. Keep those knobs on there for decades to come. Then, of course, finally, you're going to get this tiny little strike plate. You're going to want to mark the center of your jamb with the center of the latch. This little strike plate, there's not too much to it. Overall height, about 1 3/4 inches. Overall width, about 1 3/8 inches. Center of the screw holes to the edge of the lip, about 15/16. Diameter of the rose, about 1 7/8. Diameter of the knob, about 1 13/16. Projection of all of that, about the same, about 1 15/16. Center line of the lever to the edge of the lever. Looks like it's about, again, about 1 7/8 or so. Okay. You're probably just going to surface mount that. That's very thin material. It's probably 35 thousandths, something in that range. You can, it's 50 thousandths. Okay. Be a little bit thin to mortise, but you can certainly give that a go if you wanted to. You want to just, before you install the strike, you're going to drill a hole behind it so that the latch obviously has somewhere to go into. Okay. Nice quality hardware from IDH. I've reviewed a good number of their products, and I'm always thrilled with it. To install the strike, drill a 3/4 inch diameter hole, 1/2 inch deep in the door jamb, opposite center of latch. Mortise, depth of mortise is 1/16 of an inch. Sure, it's 50 thousandths. It's just going to be shy on a 16th. And that's it. Not much to it. You are very likely just simply replacing existing, and you are very likely not going to mortise anything. But if you do, that's how the installation will proceed. Very simple and straightforward installation. No special tools required. There is a link below this video to the manufacturer's page where you can pull up not only all of the IDH products that we sell, but also a link to the manufacturer's website, as well as a link to the full product catalog. I am a fan of IDH products, and it is because of that good quality fit and finish. It is incredibly unusual for there to be missing instructions. Not a problem. They're linked to down below. What I like about their products is they isolate the parts. There are manufacturers who will toss those parts in that bag and let pieces scratch each other. IDH does not do that at all, in fact. And I think they recognize that if they're going to try to sell yet another line of imported brass door hardware to an American market, it better be good quality material and it better show up looking good. Otherwise, what's the point? And they're right, naturally. So I would very much recommend that you review their catalog because I am always impressed with their fit and finish. Getting a good quality fit and finish is not to be taken for granted. Not everyone can do it. Not everyone chooses to do it who manufactures, and IDH does a good job with it. And they generally will have their inventory available and on hand. If you have any questions on the IDH, this is their part number 21250I for the I section, and 10B. I didn't tell you the other finishes. Let's do that real quick. 003 for polished brass, 004 for satin brass, 005 for antique brass, 008 for bright copper, 014 for bright nickel, bright copper I sell that about once every 5 years, 014 for bright nickel, 015 for satin nickel, 019 for matte black, 026 polished chrome, 08A for antique copper, 10B oil rubbed, 15A antique nickel, 26D satin chrome, 03NL. What is that up to? 14 finishes. Brass with no lacquer is what the NL stands for. And if you have any questions on this or any other IDH product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you.